The next day, not sure if what I did was correct, but here's my story. I found some text messages about 4 years ago between my wife and AP. I discovered these messages a couple months before my son was born. It was probably dumb looking back on it, but I held it inside for over a year as the information slowly ate away at me. I did this because she was in the last traumatized carrying my son, and then she had postpartum depression. During this time, I put myself into counseling because I couldn't handle it on my own. I eventually confronted her about a year after it occurred, where she proceeded to deny it. Then she was like, AP kissed me. I was pissed, but I was like, I have a 1-year-old, so I ignored it. Went to counseling, because I am supposed to believe my wife, right? All the while my gut and intuition was telling me I'm wrong. Fast forward a few years later, we moved cities, and she is being distant. I chalk it up to the move and stresses of a new job, etc. I wind up paying for a hotel for the weekend to send her out of town, because that is what she really wanted. A week after I booked the hotel, she was like, oh hey, it's going to be a girls' trip. I'm like, cool. Then I see a photo of the wife and another guy. So, I confront her about it, and she says, oh, one of my girlfriends invited co-workers to come, and one of the other girls brought her husband. Wife didn't tell me it turned co-ed. That it turns out a P2 took a shower in the room that I bought her, and then my wife confesses that a P2 slept in her hotel room one night on the couch. She says nothing happened, he's like my little brother, we are just friends. This triggered all sorts of, I guess, PTSD about a P1, because they were just friends about a month ago. I confront her again about a P1, she says nothing happened. Gut still didn't buy it. Confronted her again 4 days later, she says, oh, he fingered me in the car one time. Fast forward to this week, I'm like, I just don't buy that, nothing further happened. No one goes to third base and stops unless you are a teenager and don't really know what you are doing. I ask her what happened, then she proceeds to tell me. She gave him a good job in the car, and he was on top of her, but nothing else occurred. Yeah, right. So, then the day after this confrontation, I get an email from her. Yeah, I did sleep with him. The stuff in the car happened after. I'm so sorry. I'm not stupid. And just because you admitted to a P1 stuff 4 years ago doesn't account for your denial on what's going on with a P2, whether it's emotional or physical. I think it's both. I mean, why else hide who you are having stay in your hotel room? Anyway, I have a kid with her, and the thought of breaking up my family breaks me. But the thought of me staying with someone who straight up lied to my face multiple times over the past 5 years makes me want to vomit. Not to mention she's doing the same crap now. I asked her to take a lie detector test after I found out about the fingering, and she wound up booking it, and then backing out on advice of her counselor. The real reason she backed out was because she couldn't pass the test. But the reason she told me she didn't take it was it is inaccurate, and it's all in how the questions are asked. Nah, it's because you didn't want to tell the truth. I should also mention that the whole reason she didn't tell me was because she repressed it, because she said that she was X when she was 9, and if she didn't say what happened out loud, then it didn't happen. Cool, I guess I can try that in court sometime. She says she still loves me and wants to try. I'm like, why? So you can live in a nice house, and I can send you on a vacation you desperately said you needed to relax, so you can go and have a guy who you work with spend a night in your hotel room when nothing happened. She went to counseling the other day and came home in one of the best moods I've seen her in a long time. I'm like, must be nice getting rid of all that guilt and hiding stuff from me for the past 5 years, while I'm over here trying to hold myself together. I don't feel like she has ever really had remorse. She has said sorry, but there doesn't seem to be much meaning behind it. At the end of the day, we didn't have very good communication, and that is part my responsibility as well. I asked her why she finally decided to tell me after all these years. She said she finally admitted because it was time for me to know, so that I could stop my tailspin. She also keeps to the story that nothing physical happened with AP2, and that ever since she did the stuff with AP1, I have honestly tried my best to be the wife you deserve by having AP2, and at least an EA, if not a PA. So, a couple updates since then. 1. I went on a trip, and I caught her looking at houses for a friend on the street next to AP2. Then this past week she was at a business conference, and I asked who was going. She never mentioned AP2. Come to find out AP2 was there, but she says she didn't interact with him, blah blah blah. But her timeline shows an 8-hour gap where it looks like location services was turned off. We had conversations, we went to counseling. We got kicked out because she wouldn't admit she slept with the guy in the hotel and refused to take a lie detector test. She refuses to get a new job and refuses to stop being friends with guy number 2. She said that she doesn't want to give up her social life. I told her if she doesn't want to give up a guy she's known for 6 months who is just a friend for her husband and her kid, then we are done. I asked her, so what is it? She said she didn't know. So, I sent her divorce papers that I had been working on. Today is a tough day. Never thought I would be here. So, I had a lawyer draft up papers, and I sent them to her. So I am in counseling, and I did confront her about it after AP1, and I let her rug sweep it, but I finally got that admission 4 years later, but then this AP2 came in the picture. Honestly, most of my counseling sessions have been on getting me to the point to give her papers. I got a long road to go, and I know that. Honestly, some days are better than others. Really traumatic to be going through this. Never in a million years did I believe I'd be where I am now. I haven't left the house. I think her attorney advised her not to leave the house either. She is going on a work trip next week, working on a path forward to get her out of the house and move on. She told me the other day that since I served her papers, she doesn't know if she loves me as a partner or as a friend, and I straight up told her that's BS. She probably is still living in her fairy tale. She obviously doesn't give a crap about me. Told her what I needed, she didn't do it. So, while my heart wants to think she will, got to use my brain and be objective. She didn't the things I wanted because she doesn't want to do them. I think the last straw was the whole "I don't know if I love you as partner" or whatever. Just total disrespect, and I'm not dealing with it anymore. She can go to AP2 or wherever. I don't care as long as it isn't here. I'm not talking to her except about the kid, and that's it. Rest of the stuff can go through the lawyer. Honestly, I'm already pretty detached. Like I said, the last straw was her saying she didn't know if she loved me. Like, cool, don't love me then leave and never come back. I don't need that type of crap in my life. I just want the pain to stop. The roller coaster of emotions is really accurate. I want off this ride, and I want her out of my life. Well, about an hour out of her coming home, she texted me asking about plans for the kid for this weekend. Told her I got him this weekend, since I took care of him all week, and she can start bringing him to and from school next week. She pretty much said okay, no fight, no tears, no emotions. Guess this has been dead for a long time. Hell is a pretty accurate description of it. Logic is telling me she hasn't done anything to help. I gave her an ultimatum and she basically said screw you. Now, it's like if I don't enforce the ultimatum, I won't even be able to look at myself in the mirror. Then the feelings come around and make me want to give in on the NC. No one can fix her or the giant hole in her heart. Sadly, we are still living under the same roof. I honestly wish she was gone. In my state, divorce can go by quickly. It just depends on how much she wants to fight and how much money she wants to spend. I am back to gray rocking, no contact. It was a mistake to break it. I'm already wondering what I saw in her to have this giant monster come out of her, out of nowhere. It's almost amusing every time I hit her with consequences. She just adds to the list of things I did to upset her. Oh, I gave her divorce papers. Oh, I gave her the ring back. And as soon as she is served, oh, you served me. Like, yeah, you are still having an emotional affair, at least if not physical, and you are still lying through your teeth. Like, I don't know what happened to the girl I fell in love with, but this witch in front of me I wouldn't go on 2 dates with if I was meeting her for the first time. The whole bipolar thing is nuts. She definitely isn't stable. What doesn't make sense to me is these violent mood swings. 1 minute having seemingly one of the deepest conversations in our entire marriage. 24 hours later after she goes to work, and she asked me to continue the conversation from last night. Then we start talking about how to help me and my side of stuff. Then it goes to being, I'm done, when am I getting served, blah blah blah. There is definitely something going on at work, because when she comes home, it is like she is an entirely different person. Unfortunately, it's all about her. It's always been about her. I've just been too stupid to see it, and with the mood swings and her craziness, literally anyone can have her at this point, as long as she gets out of my home. I just can't take her insanity that she showed. Being NC yesterday again definitely helped. I'm taking myself on a vacation this weekend, since I have no desire to be here. The breadcrumbing, the trickle-truthing, the lies, like all of it is just complete and utter BS. I feel so dumb for trying to fix this over the past couple of months. The MC, the effort, the emotions, all of it was just a joke. Honestly, I'm not sure what she ever got from me towards the end other than the roof over her head and helping her out with the kid. She can go find another chump. It's kind of amazing since I told her that we are implementing the 50-50 custody thing, and I don't have to entertain my son or watch him while she does whatever after work, or cook dinner, give him a bath, read him stories, put him to bed, etc. How much less stressed I am and how much more stressed she is. All the while though, I wasn't doing enough around the house to help her with chores and the kid. She complained that she had to change her work schedule and she wouldn't be able to go to the gym on her weeks when she had to drive him to and from school. Insert world's smallest violin playing for her. Good news for me, she wasn't that great in bed. So, update. Another week of no contact. Went away for the weekend, then this morning I get an email in my email box about a confirmed marriage counseling appointment, supposedly for me and her. Have no clue why she would schedule it, after what happened last Monday. Haven't said a word to her since. Feel like this might be a trap to get me to talk to her, give her a reaction. Why in the hell would I want to go to marriage counseling when she can't be trusted and puts everything on me? Is there any circumstance that I should show up to this clusterfuck of a MC session? I don't see any reason to, and I'm tempted to just pretend I never got the email. I just don't get it. I'd rather go see the dentist than go to MC again. Why would I go there? Why couldn't she just say whatever she has to say to me and let me decide? And who the hell gets to schedule me for therapy? Like you should be asking if I even want to go. Which I don't. She is damn nuts. Let me tell you, the fooling around just makes me want to get a one-way ticket for me and my kid to a non-extradition country and start over. So, when an appointment is scheduled, it goes to both parties' email boxes. She hasn't discussed it with me or said anything about it. After I talked to her the last time, I really don't want to say anything to her. If she wanted me to go to counseling, she could have said I scheduled an appointment for us. I would really like you to go, but who knows, this could all just be another trap or another ego kibbles thing to get me to acknowledge her. Right now, I've been treating her as though she is a ghost. I don't say anything to her, don't look at her, walk right by her, etc. Actually, in my mind, going on late 30s. The mess, according to my attorney, is 6 to 12 months. She's actually in her early 40s, which apparently from what I hear is a prime time for some woman to start going a little haywire. Well, I obviously didn't go to MC today. I walked in after she had gone to MC, and it looked as though she had been crying. Just kept maintaining NC, said nothing, and pretended that she was a ghost. The options kind of suck, right? You stay and you never trust them again. You go and life gets better, but you still have to go through hell and pain to get there, right? Some argue, yeah, but it is only temporary, and I agree with that, but going through hell doesn't make it any easier. Thanks for the kind words. I really do try with my kid. I'm not the perfect dad, and I make mistakes. I try to learn from them. I didn't grow up with a father, so I never really had something to emulate. I just try the best I can. I guess it's hard for me to accept she has always been like this. It didn't feel like it in the beginning when we were married or dating. Just kind of sucks to be slapped with that reality that she just hid it for a while. She went and got a new base for her bed frame and had it delivered today. Kind of weird. Doesn't seem like she wants to leave if she's getting new furniture. Sheriff finally served her yesterday. She sent me a text asking about her expired passport. I ignored and am keeping on keeping on. Honestly, I was hoping she was with AP, so that hopefully my divorce will go quicker and smoother. As far as the passport, I have no idea. It was expired, so maybe she just wants to renew it. It expired in December. I mean, when I gave her divorce papers the first time, didn't have her served, just emailed them to her and said I want out. The first thing she did was go out and got a new cell phone and plan off of mine. Now the day she gets served, she wants to renew her passport. Just really odd behavior. I like the one poster's suggestion. Maybe she is on a work visa to hell. How hard should I go after the whole adultery thing in the divorce? I have to send out some interrogatories and notices to produce, and I'm just wondering if it is even worth it at this point. Just give me my kid and I'll be out of here. An update since I've gone quiet for a bit. Mediation is scheduled for September. I had my lines in the sand. She refused to do what I needed to rebuild trust. Lack of remorse, lack of empathy, lack of anything really. She is a robot. Ultimately, I think what pushed me over the edge was realizing that I was lonelier with her than without her. She also gave me the whole, I love you, but I don't know how I love your line. And I'm like, well, if you don't know if you love me as your partner and person, then WTF am I doing trying to fix this? To this day, she still has done nothing to try to get me back, or even show 1 ounce of remorse, just reinforces that I am doing the right thing. Haven't spoken to her verbally since April. And updated. Mediation failed. I made 2 offers, and they got up and left. Off to court we go. Another update, I did do a DNA test, and the child is mine. I'm also now divorced. Had to sell house, it appreciated too much for me to afford buyout. My comment, congrats. I hope others see this and gain the courage to kick their cheater to the curb. Story 2. I am at a crossroads and don't know how to proceed. Mid-January, my WH walked out when I confirmed to him that I had called OH. After about 10 days he came back. So, for the next 10 days he talked about leaving again. People told me to immediately go to plan B and I then proceeded. After about 2 weeks he called to tell me that he was leaving the next day to go to his mom's house, 2,000 miles away. I suspected correctly that since I surprised him by taking his packed bag to him at work, he had nowhere to go, and that he lived in his company office for the 2 weeks. That weekend, he went to see his aunts and uncle about 1 hour away, and on that Sunday, I was told that he had some kind of emotional breakdown, and no one is telling me exactly what happened. His family members live in the same college town that O's daughter attends. I believe that my WH possibly saw O that weekend. No one will tell me. He has been down in the Caribbean for exactly 4 weeks. This weekend we spoke and he stated that he may be coming back in about 2 to 3 weeks as he is trying to sell his mom's house, in addition to getting his life together. We have talked about reconciliation and agreed that we have a lot to talk about before he comes back under this roof. My issue is that he won't admit to what has happened since I found out about it back in August. Since he supposedly ended contact, he only changed how he stayed contact with her, by using work email and phone. I was shown evidence that he saw her in November because his coworker showed me emails and pics referencing the weekend that he thought he had deleted from his computer. In December, she made a surprise impromptu visit to his work. I also found a draft text on his phone that he was planning to send to her referencing a prepaid phone. Things between them were again escalating. I can't move forward toward recovery if he doesn't come clean, but he's trying to forget it happened, get his head together, finish withdrawal, and move on with his life. He stated that he did not understand the letter. He said that even though I was asking him to sever all ties with O, he says that I would not have believed him if he told me that. I don't feel I can trust him if he doesn't come clean. I don't want to be in this position in another 6 months, like I am now after he assured me in August that the affair was over. Can anyone tell me where do I go from here? What started as a decent plan B made a questionable turn when WH left to go to the Caribbean. No, a no-contact letter to the O was not sent. In August, when I confronted him, he didn't allow me the courtesy to be there, in the room, when he called her to break it off. O was concerned that I would tell her H, and I agreed not to if all contact stopped. So, from August, I have been led to believe that it was finished, until one of them started the texting or calling. I would then say something and state that I was going to call her H, and it would stop until about 2 or 3 weeks later when the texting and calling would start again. What I realized was that they may have been trying to end it, but when one of them would hit the withdrawal wall, contact would start again. The Plan B letter stated that if he was willing to sever all ability to be in contact with O and decide to be completely honest with me, we can talk about our future together. This is my exact Plan B letter to WH. My dear WH, I sincerely apologize to you for my part in creating an environment that helped make your affair with O possible. I know that you feel that I was not there for you when you've needed me, and we are now both suffering for my mistakes. You recently indicated your intent to leave our home again. In the same conversation, I understood you to say that you wanted to work toward reconciliation. I realize that we both need to work on ourselves individually, but during this process we cannot live in a vacuum with no interaction between us. You state that you cannot work on our relationship until you and I first take care of our respective issues. But it is not out of the realm of possibility that our individual work may develop us personally, but possibly in contrasting directions. It was unclear whether you are suggesting that our reconciliation not take place until after that point. But the time we need to work individually could likely end up being measured in years. If you were truly serious about reconciling, I would not think that you would want to be separated for that amount of time. I want to and am willing to correct the errors I've made in the past and create a new beginning for both of us that will also meet your needs. But I cannot do that until you completely sever your relationship with O once and for all and make a conscious decision to be completely honest with me. Until then, I will avoid seeing or talking with you. Of course, you may call and speak with Son. I will have him answer the phone when I see it's you on the caller ID. With regard to your time with Son, we can communicate by email or text message regarding the logistics of getting him returning him. If you would like to visit him here in our home, with notice I will arrange to be away. Any communication about our children or any other matter can be initiated with either email or text message. I ask you to respect my decision to separate from you this way. You must know about the suffering I have endured because of your relationship with O. I simply cannot continue to make a concerted effort to mend our relationship, hoping you will do the same while you are still in contact with her. I still love you, but I cannot see you the way things are now. As soon as you are willing to permanently separate from O and follow the suggested measures to ensure a total separation, I will be willing to discuss our future together. I continue to want us to rebuild our marriage someday. I believe our marriage can be even better than the way it was when things were the best between us. I want us to be able to meet each other's emotional needs and to avoid doing anything to hurt each other. We need to build a new lifestyle in which everything we do makes us both happy. Then there will never again be a reason for us to separate. I want to again be your best friend, someone who is always there for you when you need me. And I want you again as my best friend. I loved you when we were married and I continue to love you right up to this day. I just cannot continue like this as long as you are not being honest and continue the possibility of any communication with O. Always, me. A few weeks ago, WH contacted a good friend of ours asking him to help a good friend's daughter who is finishing college to get an interview at his company. When I saw our friend and his W, he told me about my WH's contact. Of course, that friend was actually the O. I proceeded to tell him what was actually going on. I have been ambivalent about total exposure now, because maybe he is telling the truth and it is really over. And if so, what good would it do but anger WH? I think that if I had strong proof that the is really still going on, then I would. But what if I am wrong? I may not be able to prove that it really is still going on. And if I can't prove it, then I don't feel right in continuing the exposure. I know that WH's cell phone and email needs to be changed. Does that mean my cell phone number and email too? I just found out about a jewelry purchase that WH made for O just after arriving at his mom's house. He ordered it from an online store and had it sent to her work address. In an effort to question him about it, I got on the general subject of whether he had ever given her a gift. He of course said no. I later asked him about his calls to the online store. I asked why he made 6 calls to the store's 800 number within a matter of about 3 business days. Then he admitted that he did buy her address from the place he really bought the bracelet. I found the info on the bottom of a page that was folded and tucked into the copy of saw that he read. I even mentioned the name of the bracelet, written on the page, and he said it did not mean anything to him. I am getting ready to tell him how I discovered the purchase from his papers, and calling the 800 number and giving them the confirmation number, also on this paper, and they gave me everything, including the shipping confirmation tracking, so I could confirm exactly where it was sent, and the last 4 digits of the credit card that he used to complete the purchase. He does not seem to understand that his honesty, even if he thinks it will upset or hurt me, is essential to me being able to begin to allow myself to begin to trust him again. How can I trust him when I can't quickly verify the truth when he will outright lie to me when he knows I can, and will, find out, or he should know that I already know the truth? All I can do is cry. I don't understand it. I spoke to the OWH. I didn't know that I was exposing to him. At first it seemed like he did not believe it, but he realized that I knew too much personal stuff that only O could have told my WH, who then told me. They live in the next major city about 2 hours south of us. His attitude by the end of the conversation was that we can't babysit them, but he was going home to have a little talk with his wife. The way we ended the conversation, I got the feeling that after he talked to O, there would be no further reason for he and I to make contact. We were both supposed to handle our own business. We had cooled off that night with O making the crying goodbye speech to my WH, I'm sure for benefit of OWH, but a few days later it was back in full swing since WH walked out on me that night. I think that I need to make a call to him, but since he did not seem open, I don't want to be a pest either. I don't know what really is the nature of their relationship. O seems to be OWH's trophy wife. O told my WH that she suspected that OWH could have had an O or two himself, but she had no evidence of anything. But she has been getting affection and intimate conversation from my WH. OWH does not seem to pay her any attention. He just works a lot, doing a great deal of international travel. WH has written a version of a NC letter. He did not want to do it, but he finally saw the need after she attempted to contact. But he has not yet given me the final copy. I am wondering if he can't bring himself to give it to me so I can send it. I will mention that possibility to him. I calmed down after I had a good cry in the shower and told him that I have not seen much, on his own, of his effort to recover our marriage. He is a grown man, why should I have to be the one to tell him what to do? He reads and can figure out what needs to be done to start the recovery process. I don't mind suggesting, but I shouldn't have to say it more than 1 or 2 times. He then turns it on me, telling me that he has not seen the changes he needs to see from me. WH is referring to the issues that started his resentment toward me, causing him to fall out of love with me, and later toward his issue is that he wants me to work full-time. But when he went to stay with his mom, he quit his full-time job and left. I did not know how I was going to pay bills, eat, etc. We were literally abandoned. It's like he did not care. The Sunday before he left for his mom's, he saw O and it was supposed to be their last goodbye. He came back to his aunt's and emotionally fell apart. I was not called, but his uncle called his brother. The decision was made to fly him to Puerto Rico for some R&R and to get O out of his head and to decide what he wanted to do about our marriage. I believe he and his brother and uncle, after much bashing of me, decided if he got on a plane and left, it would force me to quickly find a job. After that, he would come home and then I would be doing what he wanted all the while. But it did not happen that way. He called toward early April and heard our DS becoming detached from him. It shook him up, and then he realized that if he waited for me to get a job before returning, he may not have any salvageable relationship with DS. Update. Night before last I was awakened by my WH who was in need of SF. While in the middle of things, he commented on my level, saying something like, "Wow, your bottom is like." I was very stunned by his statement, because we never have used language like this. We have always used proper names for things and parts of body, etc. I stopped a second, gave him a strange, unapproving look, then quickly allowed things to continue. It was so offensive to me that under any other circumstances, pre-affair, I would have immediately stopped and the fun would have been over. Before dinner last night, we were out grilling and I brought up the comment and my feelings. I chose to address it because I fear that if I didn't, it would only be the start of the use of similar language. He defended by saying that he's sure that he has used that word with me before. That is untrue. Then he stated, let's say, within the last 5 to 6 years, I guess I've probably used the word no more than 5 times. Well, it falls within that time frame. This really got me thinking about him and the O, and that he probably talked to her like that. I later asked if it was possible that he could have used the word to her. He said no, that he didn't use that word with her, or referring to her. So, immediately thought that while he wouldn't use that word with the O, but he will with his W of now 23 years, like I'm the hoe, not her. Big update. Almost exactly 2 years ago I discovered WH in an affair with the college GF before me, and a few weeks later I had proof it was P, and numerous times we went through the it's over and calls. Texts would begin within a few weeks. He pulled a few slick numbers, leaving me at home with DS while he made a trip alone or to return alone. He finally got sloppy and I found evidence of another prepaid phone for their communication. January, I got sick of it all and called OWH and found out he really did not know about the affair. WH got angry, packed a bag and stormed out. He returned about 2 weeks later. A few days later, I packed WH's bag and took it to him at work with a Plan B letter. About 2 weeks later he was on a plane to the Caribbean because he met up with O and afterwards had an emotional meltdown after their last goodbye hookup. He quit his job from a payphone while waiting for his flight to leave, essentially abandoning DS and me. He remained with his mom for 11 weeks. He had been saying all of the right things, making the right promises, so I let him come home. About 3 weeks after his return, O started texting and calling his cell phone. He signed our recovery agreement, wrote OANC letter, and then promptly changed the cell number and it stopped. Fast forward to late September, I found a hidden house phone bill with a slew of calls from our home phone to O. They had been in constant contact since her first attempt after he came home, and knowing I would check his cell phone records, he used our home phone. Late Nov, he offered the reason for contact that O had developed a drinking problem and WH was encouraging her to seek treatment. The last contact I can document was December. Our DD switched cell carriers for an iPhone and WH decided to let his cell phone go as they shared an account. While WH says he has had no contact with O, I have not found any evidence that suggests continued contact. Things have still been up and down since then. During disagreements, he always throws up in my face the issues he has with me, work full-time outside the house. I've asked him, knowing the answer, about his progress on our relationship, and he freely and honestly admits that he really has done nothing to work toward recovery. He seems to be sitting back with his arms folded, waiting for me to change before he makes up his mind to do anything. The other day, he needed to go help his cousin who is having problems with his depression. I told him that under the circumstances he should go, but I did not like it and that I will need to learn to face my fears, some which may be irrational. I began to cry and he got angry and said that he asked me about going and all he wanted was a simple yes or no, that's all. It was apparent that he did not want to deal with my feelings. He does not seem to have totally and completely owned up to the and there always seems to be a but after his statement of taking ownership. I still many times feel that he still just doesn't get it. He has not totally come clean, especially about what happened when he had the meltdown and his uncle and brother made the decision, without even trying to notify me of the situation, and bought the ticket to send him to his mom. I have had so many triggers, and when I have tried to talk about my feelings, he then tells me that he has them too. A family wedding this past April was really hard. I was going to be with all of the family members who played a part in condoning the as well as sending him away last year. During the wedding ceremony, he managed to move from where we were seated to get a better picture camera angle. Instead of returning to sit with us, he sat with his mother, 3 rows in front of us. At the reception, he danced for the first hour with our DD, who was in the wedding, and with some cousins and aunts and his mom. He finally came back to the table and then asked me to dance. I declined his invitation, and he did not like what I had to say to him about it. With regard to his family, I believe that he has told them that he has decided that since DS will soon be 12, he will stick it out until DS leaves home. I say that because no matter how good things are between us, whenever we get around his family, he becomes cold and sterile with me. No touching, no walk to the car, no kiss goodbye, etc. With regard to the work issue, WH is still looking for work. He has not worked since he quit in February. I am still doing the part-time work I was before. I do not feel bad that he has had to borrow from his family, because they helped to get him into this situation. My family has helped, but they did not hear his one side of the story and agree that he should quit his job and abandon his family. And under the circumstances he has been applying more pressure for me to work full-time. But I can guarantee you that if he is not working and I do go full-time, he will not stay here in my house. But I don't think he quite believes that. My comment, nearly a year has passed and nothing has changed. Is it about sum it up? He still hasn't come clean to his family, it seems. He still isn't making decisions about recovery because there's no reason for him to. There are no consequences.